We believe like really devs want to produce good code. And we're making it super easy for them so that no one has to tell them to go fix things. They just are doing it themselves.
I'm John Generone, editor-in-chief of Tech Edge, here in San Francisco at RSA Conference 2025. I've got with me here Manoj Nair, who's the Chief Innovation Officer at Snyk. Manoj, thanks for joining us.
Very good. Thanks for having us, John.
So before we get into the nitty-gritty here, can you tell us at a high level what the company does?
Yeah. So Snyk is a pioneer of a category called developer security. What does that mean? You know, you think about security, we're at this show, thousands of companies, and I think the roots of security started with just, humanity and mankind always thinking, if I want to be secure, I need like moats around my castle, tall walls, maybe some spies. So you think about most of the security industry, I got detection, I got to detect, maybe, I got some, this tool to find and forensics. And I lived through this, I spent time at RSA and went through nation state breaches and figured out this whole fundamental model is pretty flawed, right? Everyone talks about security needs to be built in. I think 10 years ago, Snyk became the first company to figure out how to do that. And the roots of the problems in code or applications are built by developers, and they make mistakes, and they're not trained in safety. And so these bugs add up, and there are vulnerabilities that can be exploited. So that's what Snyk does. We enable devs with context, automation, and education right as they are producing stuff, so that it's inherently secure and trusted applications.
Perfect. Now, Manoj, in the green room just now, you and I were talking about, a real life example, and I said, so let's say, I download the Peacock app on my iPhone. As you just mentioned, you've got very sophisticated developers there who make that a fantastic app. It's a great product, but is it safe? Tell us where the role you play there.
I'm glad you brought up that example because, Comcast is a customer of ours, right? And so we have customers, starting with the biggest companies in every category, and we secure all of these applications that they're producing. So you think about any company today, it's a digital company, soon every company is an AI company. How do you make sure that what you and I and our friends and families and the world around us uses is trusted right, from the source? And that's our mission.
Can you tell me a bit more about the market for developer security solutions? Are there a lot of competitors out there? What makes you special?
I think we created a category, right? So I came to Snyk. I always say this. I feel like there are very few companies out there that can be a generational company.
Yeah.
And so if you're trying to build a generational company, you usually build a platform and you create a new category. And you look at Salesforce created CRM, right? And so we created dev security. There are many companies that have now followed this path and formula. What we do now, unique 10 years in, is the breadth of how we do what we do. Right, so you think about the scales that we are in. I just came from talking to a customer, hundreds of thousands of repositories, 50,000 devs. That's the kinds of environments. How do you do? And development is very complex, and devs are very it's like the newest tool, shiny object tool comes in, they want to use that. So you got to keep up with that, and that is what makes us fundamentally unique.
Manoj, I've got to ask you, just thinking out loud here, if I might, I would think that your customers, that the relationships are pretty sticky, because if they see it work, the app, for example, whichever one it is safe, they're probably going to come back to you, maybe for their other apps, next generation of that app. Is that a fair point to make?
Yeah, one of my favorite moments is going to a customer and they say, a lot of security is about finding. I found this, I found that. And they go, you guys brought in a fix culture. It's not about finding, it's about actually fixing things and moving fast. Very few security companies talk about improving productivity. Everyone talks about reducing risk. We're very unique in the sense that actually customers do productivity ROI with us, as that's the way that they justify, how, why, and how. And favorite, quotes of the day. Every day I get something like this. Yesterday it was a Fortune 10 company saying, "We just deployed you guys, and 30,000 issues just disappeared. We didn't tell anyone to do anything. How did they go?" And that's the magic. We're we believe like really devs want to produce good code. And we're making it super easy for them so that no one has to tell them to go fix things. They just are doing it themselves.
Well, Manoj, since we are here at RSA, can you tell me about some of the cool things you've been hearing downstairs on that crazy floor? There are thousands and thousands of people. Any exciting news or companies you met?
Well, there's a lot of companies. Every year there's some new company. I love the innovation sandbox that happens. I was talking to one of the judges about, the winner was Project Discovery, is a company I know very well and love their, mission, and Calypso. I think, there's these very interesting. My favorite is walking on the startup area, every year. Get to know what's new, what's cooking, and especially in my role as driving M&A too for the company. So it's good to always see what's going on. Now, there's something about RSA. Every year, the whole show picks up a theme. It feels like everyone talks about the same thing. So I can imagine being a buyer of technology, security technology, how difficult it is to parse what's the difference between this company and the other company when everyone's saying I do AI security. That's the theme of this show. It's
You're right.
You just walk around the streets and people are like just AI, and they're having fatigue.
Yeah.
And in fact, like one customer remarked, okay, I thought I had like a half a dozen AI companies that I had to report to for the compliance reasons. Now I have to go back and report every one of the vendors that we are using as an AI company. So that, that's just what happens with these fads and the buzzwords, but we got to figure out how to help our customers actually parse through all the noise and get to the real solution.
Makes a lot of sense. Manoj, last question. I think that you guys actually had some product news this week. Can you tell our viewers about that?
So we acquired this company called Probly in Portugal 6 months ago, and we released the product coming out of that acquisition, Snyk API and Web. And this is like, defense in depth in our mission. It's about producing trusted apps. With our own experience, we figured out there's something missing in ours. We had to go through a FedRAMP process, and the auditor goes, "But I need the results of this kind of testing."
Yeah.
And I go, why couldn't we produce that, right? And so we went looking for a company that can do it with our mission, shifted left, do it, before deployment, found this amazing technology. So we're very happy that we were able to bring it together as part of the Snyk platform. And then I think, this was like breaking news. We were awarded the winner of one of the best products at RSA for that launch. So.
Well, I think that's a great note to end it on.
Yeah,
It's been a terrific interview. I really appreciate Jonas, our show, and I'm looking forward to seeing you next year.
Yeah.
This has been Manoj Nair, who's the Chief Innovation Officer at Snyk. I'm John Janarone, signing off from San Francisco, California.